beat can be absolute fire for a producer and be almost impossible for a recording artist to write a song to it. If your beat presents too many challenges for a song to be created, a recording artist will skip them even if the production is excellent. So if you've ever emailed a beat that was perfect for a recording artist and got no response back, or maybe you've even been in the studio with an artist, you played a beat, hit that stank face, and they had no reaction at all, make sure you stay tuned to the end of this video because today I'm gonna give you the 5 things that could be making your beats hard to write to. So without further ado, let's get into it. Number 1, your sections are not obvious enough to write to. So one mistake a lot of new producers make is making one beat just totally without very much changes going on. So it's hard to recognize the intro from the verse to the hook to the possible bridge to the outro. Everything just all kind of blends together. So if you're a producer who's doing that, you want to make sure that you're actually creating contrast. Can the writer hear the difference between the hook and the verse? Is there some type of breakdown? Is there some type of silence? Are you adding a low pass filter so they can hear the distinction between the different sections? If a recording artist just hears a beat just going and going and going and going, they really won't know how to write a full song to it, or at the very least it's going to present a major challenge to them. So all my producers out there, make sure you're listening critically to some of your favorite songs. You know, a lot of the times we just think of the song itself. We never actually take the time to actually listen to the instrumental, and more frequently than not, you're going to notice that there's not too many elements going on and you can clearly hear the distinction between the different sections of the song. So always remember, as producers, we're making the beat, and that's just one point in the chain of command to getting to the final song. So producers, always remain a student, listen to the sections of your favorite songs and the instrumentals and apply those same techniques that those producers made into your own productions, so that way it's easier for the songwriter, the artist, the rapper to create a full, powerful song. Number 2, you're adding way too many elements before the actual recording artist can make a song to your beat. And this is a huge mistake that a lot of us producers make, because more often than not, we're cooking up these beats on our laptops or on our drum machines, somewhere in our rooms, in our studios, on a laptop somewhere, and it's just us by ourselves without any type of recording artist in the studio to kind of help guide us. You know, I can recall a story of a recording artist being in the studio with me. I'm literally barely getting the beat together. He just taps me on the shoulder and says, I'm ready to record. I'm telling you guys, I only had like maybe 4 sounds, kick and the snare. That's it. I was nowhere near ready to even finish structuring the songs. And one thing that taught me is how few elements a recording artist actually needs to create a song. A lot of our favorite music, a lot of our favorite hits that are out there, we think of the final product and how it makes us feel. We don't think about the stripped down instrumental version of it that the songwriter had to add the lead vocal, the hooks, the engineers adding all type of auto-tune and effects and delays, and that's really filling everything up. So that can kind of trick us as producers, thinking that, you know, all the weight is being carried by that powerful instrumental. More often than not, it's not. It's that songwriting, the melody, and all the mixing and effects that's really, you know, taking up a lot of the space. So all my producers out there, please always remember this: the final instrument on your beat is going to be the human voice. Never forget that. Always keep that in mind. Please don't overstuff your beats, because you could play something that's absolute fire for a recording artist and that beat be totally tailor-made for that person, and then they'll just be in the studio like, skip. Trust me, I've been in the recording engineer role and I've seen recording artists turn down absolute fire beats because they didn't have the ability to make a song to it. So you guys don't want to be in that position. Always remember that you have that mute button, and always remember this: it's always better to have too few elements in a beat than to have too many elements in a beat, because you can add additional elements later. And these days, sometimes the recording engineer will just drag and drop a loop from Splice to add additional feel if it's needed. So don't worry about that. Make sure you have enough space for the recording artist, and the final song is the final product. Number 3, your vocal samples are taking up too much space in the artist's place. So, you know, like I mentioned before, we do have access to platforms like Splice, so we can get those cool vocal samples to really, you know, add extra energy to the beat, but always make sure you subdue those vocals, you know, pull them back a little bit. If you need to, add a filter a little bit to it, make it act as a background instrument, because if those vocals are too loud, they're too obvious, they're too prominent, it can get in the way of the artist actually recording their own vocals to it. You know, maybe they want to have a different concept. Maybe having the vocal sample subdued in the background with filters can insinuate that the vocal sample is saying one thing, is actually saying something else, and then the artist can, you know, kind of play around with that and create their own hook. So for example, there's a popular song by R&B singer Montel Jordan that features Master P, and in that song there's a vocal that says "that's right." Montel thought it said "let's ride," and he used that to build off the hook of that classic hip-hop R&B song. So, you know, having the vocal back subdued, that vocal sample can once again influence a hook that the recording artist normally wouldn't have aimed for. So they're definitely useful, just don't have them take up too much space, blare out really loud, and most importantly, please make sure those vocal samples are in key. I'm talking about those singing ones because I've heard a few things and that can really throw off the song. So guys, keep that in mind and use that next time you cook up a beat. All right, and number 4, you're not singing or rapping over your own beat. Guys, this is one of the most powerful tools in my personal arsenal, is singing or rapping over my own beats. And I don't say that you need to actually get in the booth and record over your own beat. That's doing way too much. But I mean, put yourself in the position of the songwriter, the artist, the rapper. One thing I like to do is just kind of kick back, play the beat, close my eyes, and I just kind of ramble, mumble. I'll just say anything. And if you guys have favorite lyrics, favorite verses, favorite songs, you can sing to it, rap to it, just do it, and make sure you do it out loud. Your voice, you need to hear your voice kind of play off your own beat. And when you do that, you're going to start to notice points when it just feels like there's too many elements. It's almost like a roadblock. And once you hear that roadblock, don't ignore your intuition. Part of you, your producer ego is going to say, "Ooh, but that sounds fire. I gotta keep it." And then the other part of you is going to be like, "Oh, but it's in the way." So humble yourself, hit that mute button, go ahead and play it again. And you're gonna notice, okay, yeah, I can go ahead and get past that part. Everything sounds good. Maybe you're muting some stuff. Maybe you change some elements. Maybe you do a quick little drop, whatever you do, and you can still feel the contrast going on in your beat. You know, you're good to go. You don't have to stuff your beat with everything, all these different elements. I'm telling you guys, that's one compliment that I've gotten from quite a few recording artists, is that my beats are easy to write to. And that's one of my secret weapons. That's one of my tools. That's one of the ways that I help to stand out as a producer, because I'm producing for the artist. I'm not producing to impress other producers, and that's very hard to do, but it's something that you want to do if you want to make your beats easy to write to, and of course, get your beat sold. And number 5 is mistaking complexity for movement. So with your beat, you still want to make sure that it has tension and contrast. But one thing some producers actually do is just feel like they need to pile on more and more, adding another synth, another vocal sample, another lead synth on top of the beat, and just keep going and going and going, and feeling like adding that more complexity is making the beat just move more. But in actuality, you're actually just sandbagging the beat and just making it heavier and heavier and more challenging for recording artists to actually write a song to it. So one thing that I like to advise, especially for the producers who check out my Heat Check live beat review show, make sure you guys check it out in the description, is to do things like muting certain elements, also using the low pass filter. That's one thing that I like to do. Go ahead and low pass some of your sounds. Also, you could just mute at certain points where you're doing a little drop, cut your sounds off, then have the reverse cymbal come and crash into the hook or something like that. You know, I'm just, kind of throwing a few different ideas out, but in a nutshell, I want you guys to remember this. You can experiment with muting sounds, using filters, and just essentially breaking down different parts of the beat itself to create tension, to create motion, to create movement. It doesn't have to be additional. It can also be subtractive. And I want you guys to really walk away with this point, is that less is more, and that there's sophistication and simplicity. Sophistication doesn't always have to come at the tail end of complexity, and that's key whenever you're making beats and cooking up fire music for recording artists to actually write full songs to. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit like and subscribe. My name is Desmond A, and I'll be back with more great videos. Peace.